What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good.
Alright. Everything going alright?
Yeah.
Good? Andrew.
Thompson.
Nice to meet you. Alright, so what's going on?
So I have had 5 back surgeries.
Okay. I heard you talking about that. It's okay if I take notes?
Yeah, it's
Good?
fine.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed with scoliosis first,
Okay.
and it progressively got worse and worse, and then eventually it got to the point where it was hurting really bad, like in my cervical spine, my neck. Like I couldn't turn my neck. I had to like do like this, turn my shoulders to look like at the door or something.
Okay.
And orthopedic said that.
You think it was more of like you... Okay, so you said it's cervical. Okay.
Yeah.
So hard to turn your head. Okay.
Yeah, and so the orthopedic said that scoliosis isn't supposed to hurt like that, and so he scheduled an MRI. I had an MRI done on a Friday, just of my complete spine and neck and head and neck, because my neck was hurting too. And then the next Monday they called and they said that I had a tumor in my spinal cord and that I had to get it removed, and surgery was Wednesday.
Okay.
So I had surgery to remove the spinal cord tumor, and then a year later I had surgery to straighten my back, to straighten the scoliosis, spinal fusion.
Okay.
And then with the first surgery, I lost signal. They lost signal to the right side of my body, so they like have these electrodes that they hook up and they test like your body to see if they receive impulse, and so like they'll move and stuff, like just to make sure it stays connected, like nerve endings and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they lost signal to the right side of my body. So after my first surgery, I had to learn how to walk again, because I could only move my big toe on my right foot. Like that, I couldn't like lift my leg or anything. I was just laying in bed and could only.
That was the only thing?
Yeah, with
Okay.
my right toe.
Alright.
So I had to learn how to walk again, and then I didn't have any. So those was 2010 and 2011.
Okay.
Where 2010, December of 2010 was the first surgery, and December of 2011 was the second surgery.
Okay.
And then we just kind of kept doing MRIs every like 3 months, every 4 months, and then every 6 months. Like as I got, as it stayed more and more stable, we could spread them out.
Okay.
And then I did radiation in 2012
Okay.
for 5 weeks, and then we kept doing MRIs, and the radiation didn't seem to work because they saw a little bit of the tumor lower than, so the metal from the spinal fusion messes up the MRIs, and and so it's hard to see kind of what's in between the metal.
The metal, you said cervical, right?
Well, the cervical is where the pain was.
Oh, pain was in the cervical.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The fusion was thoracic.
Okay.
T2 to T9 actually is where it was. That's where the tumor was, and that's where the fusion was.
Okay.
And then, so radiation didn't work. They saw a little bit of the tumor below the rods. And when they went back in, they decided to go back in and remove it. When they went back in, the tumor had grown to its original size. And it,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but they couldn't see it because of the rods.
It was masking, I guess.
Yeah. And so they removed it. Then that was May 29th of 2013. And then they always do a follow-up scan, like the next day after surgery, to see just kind of how they did, like removing it and whatnot. And then I had another surgery like 4 days later to remove a little bit more. And then there was really no complication. Well, there was a little bit of complications. I had spinal fluid leaking, like it's because there's so inside your spinal cord there's a dura around the spinal cord, which is just that like real thin tissue, and since it had been like opened up so many times, it was weak and like thinner.
Yeah.
And so the spinal cord fluid was like leaking, and it caused basically like a level. You know how a level has the bubble that goes like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so like you tilt it this way, the bubble goes this way. And you tilt it this way, the bubble goes this way. Basically, if you were to fill that tube completely, that's how it should be. But mine was like with the bubble. And so every time I moved, the bubble moved. And since the bubble moved, it caused just massive headaches. I had headaches that like were just debilitating. And so like unless I was laying flat and still, like if I moved, I had headaches. And they were so bad that it extended my stay for probably 2 weeks. I was in the hospital for 24 days.
Wow, okay.
And finally they got a little bit better, and I was taking like caffeine pills to try and help with the headaches. It really didn't work that well.
I was gonna ask, how do they fix the
dura?
Yeah.
Like they didn't. It was just time. They didn't do anything for it.
Thing.
Yeah. There was a drain in my back,
Okay.
my spinal cord, like spinal fluid drain. But they didn't like repair anything.
No. Okay.
So, and then after the 24 days in the hospital, I kind of just did some physical therapy at home and whatnot. And then in the fall, I was able to start running cross country again. And started running cross country and was running around the track just like as a warm up. And I heard a pop, and I didn't know what it was. It hurt kind of, and I just like stopped running. But luckily, I had a doctor's appointment that like within that week. And went to the doctor, and it was my orthopedic, and he took X-rays.
Where's the pop?
It was in my back, just kind of right in the middle.
Okay. Show me where.
It was just kind of right in the middle. It was probably thoracic.
Thoracic, so like right in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we did an X-ray, and the doctor came back, and he said, "You actually broke the rod in your back." And so that was the pop that I heard, was the rod breaking.
Okay. From your fusion, right?
Yeah. At the time, I only had one rod in, because when they went back in to do those other two, the second and third spinal tumor removal, like earlier that year, they took out the left rod, and because of the fusion, they had to like wear that bone back down to get into the spinal cord. They had to like shave it back down, and so they left just one rod in, and so that was the rod that broke. It's on the right side, and that was the one rod that broke.
Okay.
He said that my back actually probably broke first.
So your back broke, then the rod?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he said that because the spinal fusion was weak, that it was weak from them going back in and shaving it down, because they had to do another surgery in the spinal cord. So it was weak because of that. And so just the pressure from that, the fusion was weak, and then it was only one rod this time. And so it was just so much pressure, and the rod finally broke. And so I had a surgery in November of 2013, another spinal fusion, to replace the rod. So they fused my spine again. They replaced the rod. Instead of titanium, it was replaced with cobalt chromium. Is the rod. And
I guess it's stronger.
Yeah, just stronger. It's supposed to be stronger than titanium.
Well, when you felt that back pain when it popped, did you you just had pain just in that area, or did it like radiate down?
No, it was just in that area.
Okay.
It was just kind of, it was almost like, it was just like a bad back pop. Like, I didn't really think anything other than, oh, dang, that hurt.
Okay.
Like, it's like, I mean, and it probably tightened up my breathing a little bit too. Because, like, I mean, I stopped running. I was already exercising.
Okay.
And so at the point it like just kind of tightened everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped running. I didn't run for the rest of the week.
Okay. Do you feel like it debilitated you, or like what the pain?
No.
No.
I mean, I guess
You just couldn't run.
in a way. I mean, yeah, I couldn't run.
Okay.
But I mean, I could walk around and do other stuff. Like I could still carry my book bag.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it hurt at the time and at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I didn't think I broke the rod or broke my back. I didn't think it was that serious. You know?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like that. But
Okay.
I mean, I tell people that if they were running next to me, they probably would have heard it. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
because you can hear somebody when they crack their neck.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that loud, if not a little bit louder.
Wow.
Yeah. So when they did the last surgery to replace the rod, they did another fusion, and they actually took 8 inches of my rib. Not only did they do fusion so that I don't go sideways, but they did a fusion in the front so that I don't go forward, which is kyphosis.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't, because I had a little bit of it, and they just decided to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
So they used the rib as like extra bone to stick in between the discs. So like if your spinal cord is normally like this, and then they take the ribs and your rib and use that bone to push it in here so that it won't go like this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like a doorstop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You wedge it in there so that I can't go forward.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I was good after that. The tumor is still there. They never completely got it all. I'm still doing MRIs all the way, like until now. I'm about to have one in next Saturday. Not this Saturday, but like 2 weeks Saturday.
Okay.
They're every 6 months, except for my last one was 3 months. Just because there was a little more enhancement that doctor had seen that, like, I don't know, it's so minimal. Like, the 2 reports, the difference was like, because they do height, width, and depth, and so the biggest difference was like 3 millimeters.
Yeah.
So it's minuscule, but at the same time, in your spinal cord, everything is minimal.
Yeah.
A minimal amount of change can cause
Big,
big
yeah.
side effects and stuff. So you have to stay on top of it. So I have another MRI coming up, but I have no really physical limitations. I can't.
You're not on radiation or anything?
No, not right
Nothing?
now. No.
Just that one time in 2012?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2012,
that was the last one?
Yeah.
Or is that the one and only time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The one and only time was October of 2012.
Okay.
For 5 weeks. And the only limitation I really have is like if I'm squatting, I have to do it like holding dumbbells or holding like a what's the one with the ball? I don't even know.
Kills?
Yeah, but I just can't put like a bar on my back, like weight on top of my back.
Okay. I
That's
can
the
see
only,
that.
yeah, it's the only thing.
So the only limitation.
And I don't do deadlifts either. I don't mess with those, just because it's mostly back.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could. Yeah, you could definitely. Yeah, I personally, I don't like doing deadlifts because I was like, there's so much.
Yeah, stress on your lower back.
Yeah. So.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So you said there's other than that, there's no really limitations or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You get back pains.
Yeah. I have
Now?
back pain. Yeah.
Still.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or just in that same region or.
No, it's really not in that region as much. It's kind of higher. This is more muscular soreness, just from I don't know, in between my shoulder blades and whatnot. There's just most movement, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I have like lower right lumbar pain, and it's actually over my my hip joint.
Okay.
And I actually, because I told Dr. Drill that I've been going to physical therapy over the summer.